I take it we're live on air?
We're live on air. Take it away, Gert.
Fantastic. Welcome to the Brands Hatch event, the GT3 competition, South African simGT. It's the second event in the 2017.1 season. This will be the AM split, which does not necessarily mean amateur drivers. It basically means everyone that did not make the pro split. Now, there's a couple of very strong contenders in this field right now, guys that you would normally have expected in the pro split. For some reason, couldn't quite make it in there. Guys like Peter van Vieren, Dean Nivert, Matthew Boy, Peter Grobler, and these guys will be giving it a serious crack tonight to see whether or not they can maybe secure themselves a pro split position for round number 3.
Yes, this seems to be a cracker, judging from the times in practice.
I did see when we got onto the server now, I did see that a lot of the guys were running medium tires. It's one of those strange tracks where it seems as if common sense would tell you to use soft tires, but the medium tires will probably last a little bit longer. But it's going to be extremely difficult to get the heat in those tires though. I've had a couple of runs around the track in the medium tires, albeit with a setup that is probably not going to be a race setup. And I can tell you now, the moment you get one or maybe even two tires to change from a very, very deep blue color, you start smiling. Not that easy.
Yeah, I know. I'm for sure. I'm struggling with the GTR in this track. These guys are managing to put in some good times with the McLarens. I noticed the McLaren seems very strong on this track.
Going to be interesting to see how this race plans out. Doesn't look like there's too many people in here, even though there is the incentive of a top 3 position and automatic entry into the pro split come the third event. I mean, one would have thought just having a nice race out, you would have had a full field challenging for one of those 3 spots, and then just having an easy glide into the next event.
Yeah, I actually do hope that more people turn up for this race. It would be nice to see a full field. As you just said, you know, there's much to at stake here. You could get a chance to qualify for the pro split in the next race, and that's something to fight for.
Absolutely. 2 minutes to go. I'm not going to hold my breath though. It seems as if we're going to be commentating on about 11 or 12 cars in the field, which, considering Brands Hatch is quite a tight track, so 12 cars might be plenty to keep us busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It's nothing like the endurance races we are used to, where there's up to 40 cars on a very, very tight track.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine lap 1 getting to Druids.
Yeah. I mean, coming off the VEC race this last week, I can tell you now, if that race had to be at this track, I can immediately see the entire field coming to a dead stop going into Druids as the leaders try and navigate through there. And it might actually be like that for at least 2 or 3 laps until the field starts spreading.
So practice session is coming to an end. We have 10 seconds remaining.
I find this so strange. Bastian Spitzner is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Did
I think drives us running late. Hopefully we get a few more. 15
Bastian
car
qualified
grid.
for the pro split
Oh.
together with Bongi Mabida.
Oh yes,
Oh,
of course,
yes.
of course, of course. Yes,
That's the reason why
that's
he's not
right.
here.
Two of the guys already qualified for the pro split. The rest of the best remaining on this server. Currently in overtime, waiting patiently, going to qualifying.
That Ico Racing BMW Z4 looks very nice, I must say.
That may be just your German, or your love for German cars that's coming out there a little bit, Amrish.
Yes. I noticed Jason loves Mercedes.
Guilty as charged.
As you can see at the back of the pit straight.
I like anything with a bit of speed. I grew up with cars that brake easily, so I don't even care where they come from.
No, my cars brake, but not easily. And it's qualifying time.
Let's see who's going to dart out of the pits first. Right, qualifying has started.
We have Chris who has left the server.
That's not a very nice way to start your lap there. Nose planting your car.
Cold tires.
Absolutely. You don't want to go anywhere near that runoff with cold tires. Maybe it's just my bias speaking here, but I must say that that McLaren looks nice. The McLaren of Matthew boy.
I wonder why. Could it be that it's spotting your logo on it? And your colours?
Not necessarily the logo. It's more the colors, you know. It's I must say, Boyd did do a fantastic job with the livery on those cars. The looks of it, Peter van Vieren, if everything goes according to plan, might be the first one to post a qualifying lap time.
I'd like to see where he gets on with that.
Telling now, his teammate Gabriel Rousseau will probably be watching the live stream right now, hoping that his driving partner can end up with in a good position at the end of this race, just so that they can actually drive together in the next event. This was a bit of a turn up for the books to see Peter van Vieren on this server right now. Not quite expected. Very strong competitor under normal circumstances.
Myself and him had an unfortunate incident at the Porsche Cup in the qualifying sessions, which most likely is part of the cause to why he is not here in the pro split at the moment.
And he didn't take part in the GT4 competition?
Yes, no, he wasn't part of that.
That's a bit of a pity. But look, he's got some good pace here. I'm pretty sure he's going to enjoy the race. And if you can keep it clean, keep it nice and tight, you're one of those top 3 positions quite easily.
So, what is a good qualifying time for this track and for the split?
That is very difficult to say. The 2 fastest guys qualified with very, very low 24s. But that said, it's probably with 2 cars that is expected to do quite well at this track. The rest of the guys are basically stuck in, either the tried and tested vehicles, or they are stuck in cars that everyone still needs to get to grips with. And to expect anything more than, let's say, a mid-24 from any of the guys in the remainder of the field would maybe be a little bit of a stretch. I see Matthew Boyd just posted a 24.5.
Yes, while Peter van Vuren had a off, just off the Sheen curve.
Matthew Boyd, of course, was a little bit unlucky, posting relatively good lap times in the last chance qualifier, missing out basically by a hair to Bongi Mabida. The trick is, of course, going to be in this race to try and replicate similar kind of laps, but with fuel in the car. But at the same time, not to overdrive the vehicle and to preserve your tires for as long as possible. I mean, an hour and 20 minutes in any car around this track is a long time.
Yes,
There's
it
no
is.
let up for the tires at all.
And it'll be interesting to see the Assetto Corsa new pit config app in operation. A lot of guys shouldn't use any pit config app, and now you have one that's standard, and I hope people are using it to decrease pit stop times.
Let's hope so. I mean, I really didn't have a lot of time to familiarize myself with that app. The one that now comes standard with the Assetto Corsa. From the looks of it, it works pretty much the same as the one that we grew to, or how we grew to accept how it's supposed to be working in endurance racing. So it works very similarly, and you can set up more than one preset. Just that I
Yes.
found that if you do the wrong thing at the wrong time, then you tend to zero it.
But you do have the option to configure your D-pad on your steering wheel, so you can control all your pit settings. So as you enter the pit, when that box pops up, you can actually go and change settings if you require more fuel or less fuel, or tires or tire pressure, etc.
That's good. Let's hope these guys tested it out, though. The last thing you want is for someone to go into the pits unprepared, then having to make another stop because they didn't get enough fuel, or they put on the wrong tires, or they left the tire pressures at default.
Yes. So Peter Grobler pushed a lap time of 1:25.3, so he's currently sitting in second place with 7 minutes to go. So hopefully we'll see an answer from Peter van Vuren and Eugene, Leandre.
Yeah, I would like to see at least 2 more guys dip into the 24s.
Yes.
That McLaren does look very strong around this track.
It is. I actually tried a few out. The McLaren, the Z4. The McLaren is the best around the track, but in standard form, it's very twitchy. But it can get the job done. But it's also going to boil down to tire degradation, wear, and how the driver drives his vehicle.
Thing is, we've seen it so many times. Being a fast sim racer is only part of the equation. There's so much that goes into successfully navigating 80 minutes of a race of this stature, essentially, because you've got more than 50 laps to get around this track. You don't want to pit more than once. The time lost would be almost impossible to overcome if you pit more than once. So you have to make the correct decisions at the right time. You have to have spent enough time on your setup so that you know what the car will do 20, 25, 30 laps in at the time that you need to pit. You need to know what you can and can't do in which corners in order to, manage whatever tire temperatures there are. You don't want them to overheat because you don't want it to scrub too much of the life of the tire away.
Yes,
You also
true.
don't want to run on a tire that is too cold, because then it becomes unmanageable in some of the corners where your car becomes a little bit light because of the undulations. So preparation probably forms at least 70% of a successful challenge for a top 3 position here.
That's true.
Remember to have Peter van Veer in the cracking lap, 2/10 up on his personal best so far.
That's a fantastic.
He could be
Chance.
qualifying Peter Krobler for second, if not Matthew Boy for first. See what he can put together here.
That's also a very good time from Matthew Boyd, bettering his pole time by 0.4 of a second.
I think Matthew is actually putting himself out of reach for Peter van Veer at
Yeah.
this stage.
He's just over a second to second place.
And in sim racing terms, that's almost a golf.
Peter's
Peter
gone
Van Veeren,
second.
there we go. Still a
Look at the
second
difference
off.
between the times. It's 0.02 of a second, not even, between Matthew and Peter.
No, it's a 1.02.
1 point.
I do apologize, yes.
There's still a bit of a golf there. It's just he managed to put himself second on the grid.
Well, they are fighting for championship points, and also that top 3's placement, which is something very nice to fight for. Actually, it will actually give them a break in the next round, so they could race and enjoy it for championship points. Oh, and as I say that,
Peter.
that is another thing to worry about, because the damage settings are much higher now on Assetto Corsa. So with this track, even though small grid, with the amount of coming together, hopefully we don't see a lot of guys spending time in the pits repairing damage.
Yeah. Look, it's I'm very, very hesitant to say that a second lead up front, in qualifying is going to translate to a 50-second win for the guy putting himself on pole here. Because so much can go wrong in the race. Scrape
Yes.
against the wall, little bit of damage on the bumper, all of a sudden you're a second and a half down in your lap time. A little bit of mirror pressure, you find yourself spinning a couple of times, letting the guy behind through, and then it's a game of catch up thereafter, and there's not many places around this track where you can successfully mount a challenge to pass someone. So to my mind at this moment, qualification is a little bit more about academics. Who's going to be starting in first, second, third, fourth? The race is where it's going to be at. Who's got the cool head? Who's going to be keeping the car off the curbs? Going to be keeping it on the tarmac?
But also, starting in first place allows the driver in front some clean air, some clear track. On the first few laps, it's vital. No one. Hopefully, you can maintain your first lap in the lead, and you don't have anyone that you have to follow that's making any mistakes or errors, which is very beneficial. Because trust me, I've started a lot mid-pack, and it does get very sensitive in mid-pack. The amount of cars, entrance of bends, you do have to slow much earlier.
I can understand that. I mean, I found myself in the mid-pack a lot in my first season in simGT. And I distinctly remember that if you don't practice any sort of a race scenario prior to getting onto the server, you feel that you might be. This is just part of the job done. Now the real test comes.
So now that we're in overtime, it looks like we have Matthew Boy starting in pole position with Peter Van Furen in second, followed closely by Peter Krobler.
That's a
And
very good result for those three.
yes, it's quite surprising though, as you said, that Matthew Boy is literally second faster than the rest of the field, well, from second place onwards.
Well, the top six at least is a strong bunch of drivers. Matthew and Eugene Evert on the grid. Everyone else behind them has got some serious sim racing chops already. Sean Lewis, I'm not too familiar with. I must admit the 129 seems a little bit on the slow side. But hopefully this can be just a very good experience in trying to keep the car on track with 57 laps and see where you end up if you can.
Yes, true.
"15 minutes qualifying. You basically see Werner Jenop drove 7 qualification laps. And then some of the other drivers only managed to get in 2 laps.
So the usual formation lap will begin shortly, followed by single file rolling start.
Feels so strange looking at that grid and not seeing in this.
There is a Nissan. It's on your right.
Oh,
Just
there
to
we go. I see
remind
one.
you
Yes,
to leave the grid when the race starts. Well,
absolutely.
Okay.
you.
Who's in that Nissan? That must be
It's Peter Heldenhays, I think it is.
Kelmers. There we go. No, that's Chad Cook. Not?
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's Chad Cook. Gone from the left, end up on the right. Chad Cook in 8th.
Oh, okay.
Well, hold on a second. I see Eugene Evert's currently on my list as in front of the field. That might actually make it Peter Geldenhuys, to be quite.
Yes. And they off on the formation lap.
Great. And escaping into the pits has now locked my controls for 20 seconds.
Yeah, I joined you.
That is just so wrong. Did nothing wrong. Now I'm being penalized.
The joys of simulation racing.
Yes.
Yes, it is Peter Heldenes in the GTR. Chad Cook is driving the McLaren 650S,
Oh,
currently in 7th. I know Chad had a few breaks over the season, so it'd be nice to see him come back into form as well.
I see Dean Ricketts just joined the server. He's like half a
Yes.
lap behind, so he's driving like a madman to try and get to the back of the pack.
He's actually still in the pits.
Currently shows up on my timing here as, oh dear, he's definitely falling back.
Yeah, he's in the pit lane.
Oh, that's a pity.
So, just coming up to Clark Curve. And we'll be going green.
Here you go. Give it horns, boys. 80 minutes from now. Let's see who's going to be in charge of this.
Peter Van Vuren took Matthew Boy on the first bend, but then ran wide.
Yo,
And is off the track.
that's not a very good start to your campaign in this race.
Yes, so that allowed Peter Krobler to come up to second place, and DeAndre is 0.4 of a second behind him. We've got Eugene Nivot pushing very hard to catch that Z4 at the moment. But it was pretty clean first lap.
Definitely one of the most important corners on the track, that one.
Yes, a lot of time to be lost on the straight.
Matthew Boy must have thought at the start of that race with the car next to him, well, that's it. I'm going to have to fight a little bit harder to get back in front. And then, barely a few seconds later, he finds himself with a little bit of a gap to the guy behind him.
You know, if you actually looked at it, you could just see like he just backed off. I think he didn't want to have any incidents, so he just backed off and just let Peter through.
Exactly.
And that small
and
mistake
considering-
put Peter in 9th place at the moment now.
And considering how he went off, I can imagine that that was more about missing a brake marker than anything else.
Yes. The RPM Z4 Peter Krobler, must say I really like that livery they have on that vehicle.
Looks like it was dipped in gold.
Yes, you know, from a distance it's like it's a very glossy, like a chrome wrap.
Mr. Nivot going farming to get a very going
On the
farming,
inside.
taking a nice line, getting a
Oh.
good run.
But Krobler is fighting back. Hopefully he can get a nice good
and
slip.
it's back in front. But now it's going to be a matter of trying to get that inside line for the. There we go. He managed it. Keep it on track.
Matthews just has a 1 second lead to Eugene, so he should be looking at putting his head down and putting in some good lap times.
Exactly. Does not look in his mirrors right now. Focus on building a little bit of rhythm. And then from about lap 4 or 5 onwards, start putting the hammer down.
It seems to be a good battle between Van Buren and Curtis. I think Peter is already up to 7th place, so he passed Harris Smith.
It might be worth our while to focus on Peter for a little while because he is gaining on guys in front of him.
Yes. He's already in the back of Shiraz. It's the battle of the Porsches.
I wonder how much sand went into those calipers after he went farming. Didn't see all that much damage on the nose, which means you probably escaped a wall.
That's a good part about this track that I found. There's a lot of runoff areas, so you can go off and save it unless it's one of the tight bends. Turn 2.
Oh, 2 wheels on the grass. Can he still get there? Doesn't have the inside line for the next corner.
But
Can he
that would
perform the
also
inside out?
compromise.
Oh, and he's got it. Fantastic
Yeah.
move there by Peter van Vuren.
That Shiraz went defensive but compromised his line out of that corner, and also his speed into that corner.
Oh dear, Peter. Don't overdrive the car now. Don't undo all the good work you've been doing. Matthew Boy still enjoying a second lead to Eugenie votes. Peter Grobler back, another second. Van Arieno back, another second. And then there's quite a big gap between 4 and 5 of anywhere between 6 and 9 seconds depending on which timing you tend to trust.
Yes, I see. Leandre is now in a battle with Gert Smith for 10th position.
I suspect that Leandre must have ran into some issues at the start of the race as well, considering that he dropped back
somewhere.
considerably as well.
And Chad is now challenging Sean for 8th place. Ooh, and we have Matthew in the barrier. Where's
Oh.
that Matthew? Sorry, that's Chad.
Yeah, he's
Chad.
the one dropping back currently, and Ryan Neal's gaining on him right now. For
Yeah,
a minute, they my heart
unfortunate.
stopped.
At 30s. Seems to have claimed Chad.
This is one of those strange tracks where if you can't get your car to run a little bit on a curb, or at least touch grass without spinning, you're going to have a very, very tough time of making it through 80 minutes.
True. I notice Peter is now in 5th place, and he is closing down the gap to. Sorry, I should say Peter van Vuren is now closing down the gap to Peter Heldenes. It's now 1.2 seconds, around about there.
But this is still a very long race. Keep it clean.
Yes.
Get past at least 2 or 3 more guys. Podium's definitely on the cards here. A very good recovery drive from what happened a couple of laps ago, though.
Yes, granted that. And he is on form. He's now just under a second behind Peter Heldenes. It would be nice if we could get some action with shots there.
Hunting down that Nissan. Nissan, of course, not the most agile around this track.
It's a very heavy car, yeah. Well, it feels very heavy.
Oh, no. There's no feel about it. It is very heavy. It's a lumbering car.
Peter van Vuren is going to be pushing for Cloud Curve on the inside. Oh, he's just too far away.
Having a bit of a cheeky look there.
He's gonna try it for Paddock Hill Bend.
Up the inside. Did he claim the
Yes,
inside?
yeah,
Yeah, he
he
did, yes.
Just keep it on the track. So Peter van Vuren up into 4th.
That's correct. Bit of work to do to make up a bit of time to Peter Grobler now. Just get back into podium position.
But you got Werner, who we're riding on board with, catching up to Peter Caldenage as well. He's closing that gap ever so slightly.
Leandre Sparks also made it past a couple of drivers.
Yes, back up to 9th.
Oh dear.
Ooh, Peter
Oh,
Caldenage ran
careful.
wide.
There we go. Right past them. I must say, since the release of the Glickenhaus, I would have thought that a lot more drivers would have given it a crack, considering that every now and again we would be finding ourselves on tight tracks where that Glickenhaus is actually a pleasure to drive.
I'm sorry, for me, I just don't understand that vehicle.
It's got four wheels and a gas pedal. What's not to
I understand. I know this was a private team, a private company that built it because they wanted to race it. So they obviously had to sell a few of them in order to race in the GT Cup or in the Endurance Series as well.
Funny story about the Glickenhaus car. The owner of the company actually entered a couple of cars into one of the big GT championships in Europe. And one of the Audi sort of motorsport salesmen walked up to Mr. Glickenhaus and asked, "Don't you want to buy some race cars?" So it's a bit of a funny story about that. And, he says, the rumor is he said to the guy, "Let me show you what a real car looks like," kind of thing, you know. So,
Wow.
I think that salesman's eyes almost fell out of his.
Apply
skull,
cold
basically.
water to burn.
Absolutely.
But I must admit, the car feels like such a pleasure to drive. It might not be the quickest, but in the bends, it is just glued to the road.
Especially at this track because it's very tight, twisty track. You could see that Eugene actually took out 0.2 of a second on Matthew Boy in that last lap. So unless Matthew is just taking it easy to preserve some tires now, because we only almost into 10 laps and we still have 48 laps to go.
Difficult to see from my vantage point, but is it easy enough for someone to maybe spot what kind of tires he's currently running on?
Matthew Boy or
Matthew
Eugene?
Boy, yes. Both of them, actually.
Matthew Boy is running medium tires. And as soon as my timing gets back to Eugene Newvold, I'll tell it.
Oh, Ryan Hill just disconnected. Must have been having a little bit of a mare there.
You know, internet connections would help us a lot here. I mean, decent internet infrastructure. But I think Peter had an off for his front Furin, because Grobler is now in front.
I noticed
into
that,
third
yes,
place.
and he's losing time to him and gaining a little bit back.
I hope he didn't overdrive those tires. Ooh, Leandre, late on the brakes. You got 3 wide coming down to Druid. Well, not 3 wide, but
3 tall.
3 tall. As Hertz normally says, you can throw a blanket over them. Well, almost a big blanket.
I deliberately stayed away from that to see if you're going to mention it, and you did.
You knew that was
Amrish got
coming.
in there. Amrish wins.
I had to.
It must be a very long blanket.
Yes. Extra length, king size.
This is going to be crucial. The next few corners is crucial. If you've got any hope in catching and passing someone, you need to make the corners count. And he's right up on the tailpipe of Banner.
Ooh, it's on the inside.
That's a huge dive.
Good racing room. Oh no, she
And
lost.
he's inherited 2 spots in one corner.
Yeah, Sterling's, yeah. Claiming victims. I hope
Got 20
Shiraz
seconds to
doesn't
make
get
up to
some
Peter van
damage.
Vuren though. Nivat now closed that gap to Matthew Boyd to about a second.
Yeah, I think Matthew is on. He's trying to preserve his tires. I'm thinking on the medium tire, if you preserve it, you should get away with a stop for fuel only.
You could, yes, but now you need to run the entire 57 laps on cold tires.
And Matthew has picked up Harris Smith, so some traffic. Hopefully he'll be getting his blue flag to move out the way. And oh, sorry, those cars look similar to me. That was actually Chad. So it wasn't lap traffic.
Cracking battle between these two guys, Gert Smith and Sean, and Gert Smith, and that is Chad Cook in the McLaren. Guy's been going at it for the last 4 laps or so.
Yes. Yeah, I actually thought, I saw that orange, the goldish color on the side, and I actually thought that was Matthew. It would be nice to see the introduction of the M6 into the GT3 class for Assetto Corsa. Oh, Chad makes a move on the
what
outside.
A move on the outside.
On the
class.
outside, and yeah.
That's
Oh
very
my
aggressive
goodness.
for Chad Cook. He's normally such
Yes.
a gentleman around the corner track, but
True.
that was aggressive. Making a statement there.
That's
Chad
why
just
I'm,
pulled the Amrish on him.
yeah, I'm quiet because that's not what I normally see from Chad, so I'm a bit in shock at the moment.
Sometimes it just helps to dab the brake and chuck a car into a corner. 4 Hail Marys up in the air and hope it sticks.
True. I see Matthew opened up that gap to Eugene a bit again. It's just over the 1 second mark.
Here's the thing. They might be maintaining that, or Matthew might be maintaining that 1 second gap to Eugene. But I don't think he's actually seeing the bigger picture here. Peter van Vuren is gaining in massive amounts of time in 3rd position. And before you know it, you're going to have a 3-way battle for the lead, which can turn very, very interesting very quickly. Is it perhaps possible to maybe check back and see what kind of lap times they're currently running at the front at the moment?
We'll try now.
Because from my vantage point, it looks as if one guy is driving the wheels of the car and 2 guys are maintaining 1st and 2nd, playing right into the hands of Peter van Vuren. By the time that he catches up, he's going to be used to driving the car at the limit, and these 2 are going to have to step it up.
We had a disconnection from Harris Smith.
Very unfortunate.
We left with 10 drivers, so at least everyone will be in the top 10.
Badum-dish.
The top 3 you want though.
Yeah, top 3 is what you want, but from a championship point standing, at least, it's quite decent.
turning out to be a fantastic fight between Matthew and Eugene.
Yeah, it's now down to
Eugene
0.8.
slightly closed the gap there by about 0.4 of a second. It's closing in on Matthew.
Yeah, and he's within striking distance now, seeing as he's now close enough to actually catch a bit of a draft behind Matthew. The moment you get that deficit down to anything less than a second, you can start picking up, like the odd tenth or the odd hundredth of a second in a straight line behind another car. Just about keep yourself in striking distance should the car in front make an error into a corner.
So the last lap for Matthew was a 1:26.7, and Eugene did a 1:26.2, so he was 0.5 of a second up on Matthew on that last lap.
Yes, and I'm fearing...
Peter van Vuren actually slowed down a bit. His last lap was a 27.2.
Yeah, I think he actually made an error on that lap. And I've been watching the live timing. It's basically yo-yoing up and down at the moment, but I've got a feeling that if we can check the next lap, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the quickest of the top three.
We'll keep you updated on that.
Because right now, I've got this feeling that these two is busy playing with each other, and Peter van Vuren is hoping he can catch them round about pit stop time, past them.
Ooh, Eugene got a bit squirrely on the acceleration there.
Grass, not the biggest friend to a 500 horsepower car.
Matthew just did a 25.9. Eugene just ran a 26.3.
So we gained 0.4 back. Interesting to see what Peter van Vuren's time will be.
Peter van Vuren just ran a 25.8.
That's good. So he's matching Matthew Boy.
The McLaren of Chad is looking very used at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that front bumper, and the thing that comes to mind is how many beach buggies did he jump start from behind with that car?
Well, looking at that car reminds you of the Bathurst race, round 1, because a lot of cars they were looking second hand as well.
At least that McLaren doesn't have a Honda motor in it. Sean Lewis doing very well in the Porsche. Newcomer to SimRace South Africa. He's only been with us for about 3 weeks or so. So I think it's only his 4th race ever with us. So doing well so far.
All you need to do, take part, learn as much as you can.
Doing very well. Learning all the time.
I must say though, if next time we're on the Porsche, if we can get a close follow camera, the noise the Porsche makes so is unbelievable.
Oh, glowing discs. See how he handles this corner. Oh, with aplomb. Hard on the brakes. jab, get the car to turn. Tricky corner coming up. Brake early, turn in, wait for the float, and then hard on the gas. Another tricky corner. Late on the brakes, go wide. Dart in on the inside. It's basically a blind apex you are chasing there all the time.
Yeah, and also with druids, because there's multiple entries for druids. I'm not too sure about you. I just found the more like a V-shaped entry I found for myself was actually the fastest.
I think it all comes down to your setup. To a certain setup, turn it a little bit easier. I know for a fact that a guy like Boyd Bryson, for instance, drives with a lot of toe on his cars.
Ooh,
Oh,
we have
brake
half
farming.
Barna. And Peter is Caldenes is close, and yes, he capitalizes. He moves into 6th place.
I know for a fact that a guy like Boyd drives with a lot of toe, and you know, for a specific reason. He likes to get the car to turn into the apex quite early, and then, you know, get on the gas, you know, once the car's pointed in roughly the right direction. Which means in Druids, a car like that would be taking sort of like a more direct line towards the corner. Whereas a car that's a little bit more sluggish on turn-in, it would take it a little bit deeper, brake a lot more speed, then take a very late apex and then jump on the gas hard to get out of the corner. So I think it comes down to your setup, essentially. How hard or soft your suspension is. That's obviously also going to aid in traction, seeing as you are going uphill. Car becomes a little bit light under braking, and then
Sorry to
somehow
trouble
you need
you.
to get through.
Sorry to disturb you. Maybe we could look at Eugene and Matthew. The gap is now 0.5 of a second for first and second. Eugene is right on the bumper.
He needs to be careful with that corner there. Don't want to be doing that too many times. Very early on the brakes going into that corner. It almost looks as if it's his MO with this car. Getting on the brakes a little bit earlier, getting the car to turn in, getting on the gas very early. Basically making use of the car's aerodynamics to get into a corner.
Higher aerodynamics than the other cars, right?
From what I remember, yes. It doesn't have the straight line speed, but cornering wise, I think it can actually rival the McLaren in the corners, if not surpass it. It's not very quick in the straight line. It almost reminds me of that Lotus that Jason was driving in simGT when I joined SimRace South Africa.
I love the Deborah. We're actually just chatting about it in the YouTube chat now. And yeah, very pointy car. Lovely balance.
Yeah,
I think with the latest updates, it sort of was made a lot slower compared to the other GT3 cars, unfortunately. So.
I like the GT3 spec, not so much the non-GT3 spec.
But you got to mix it up, man.
The non-GT3 spec just wants to bite your face off. Eugene Nieuwoudt's in the pits.
Yeah.
If I didn't know any better, I would have said he's losing time hand over fist. But
oh, he's coming too early. Maybe he's done a Hamilton in the Australian Grand Prix.
I don't think he's used the pit app, and I think he decided to go manual because he's there for a very long time.
Yeah, maybe trying to get used to the new app. Off he goes. He will rejoin in fifth position. Yeah,
place.
Lindre sneaks past.
Yeah, I don't know how that pit strategy is going to work out for him because he should be quicker than Leandre Sparks. But Leandre's got no reason to pull over for him because he won't be getting blue flags.
Yeah, it's racing for position.
Now, if I was
So
Matthew now, I'll just keep on banging out the laps. This is similar to what happened in the Australian Grand Prix where Hamilton came in a bit earlier and then got stuck behind Max Verstappen when he came out the pits. And
Mad Max.
Sebastian Vettel just increased his gap, and yeah, Hamilton was stuck in traffic. And this is exactly what's happening in this race.
exactly, I don't think that strategy was the best thing that he could have done. I think as a guy sitting in second position with a second behind the leader, you would want to push as far as possible. Maybe even pit a lap after the guy in front goes into pit.
Unless Eugene was on soft tires and maybe he ran his tires out a bit. He started to fade a bit.
Eugene's going to be praying that Leandre, Peter, and the other Peter come in soon. He can start clawing the gap back to Matthew Boy.
Either needs to get past Leandre Sparks very quickly, or Sparks needs to dive into the pits for new spark plugs.
Okay then.
I know it took you 22 laps to do that. I was expecting that sooner.
Yeah, I was waiting to see whether or not his car was dropped far enough to create sparks at the back, you know, so that you can say, look, Sparks is making sparks, but it didn't happen.
Look, it sparks.
Oh, come on.
It's not quite 3 o'clock in the morning yet.
Eugene is now 0.7 seconds behind Leandre, and he is going to be hoping he can get past as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it. He's going to have to do it if he's got any chance.
You see the gap from Matthew and Peter is hovering, but it's actually increasing from a time points. Matthew Boy is pulling out 0.2 to 0.4 per lap.
The one thing that might be of interest here is that if he pitted early, because of the fact that he started the race on softs, it would explain why he was clinging to the back of Matthew Boy in the way that he did. The only problem that I now see is for him to get to the end, he would have put on medium tires and he won't be matching those lap times now.
Yeah, his last lap was a 26.9.
That's very indicative of medium tires.
Just watching the racing now, I've been very impressed with the quality of driving at the moment. And as I say that, Leandre gets it wrong. But I mean, this race, I mean, the driving has been pretty good.
Yeah, actually, not much accidents. No, not much
fantastic.
rubbing as well. The guys are giving good enough racing room.
Looking at the time remaining in the race right now, it looks as if we can expect a pit stop from Matthew Boy anywhere between now and about lap 29 or 30. Peter van Vuren still hasn't pitted. Peter Groble hasn't pitted.
Do we know which tires that Eugene started on?
No, we're actually assuming it was softs.
Yeah, but look, if you put it, on lap 20, the only reason you would do that, you should know that if you come out of the pits after pitting that early, you're going to be behind cars. Cars are spread, but they're not that far spread. So the only reason you would do that is if you absolutely shredded your softs.
Unless he underfueled, he fueled for a shorter pit, shorter stint and then he would go for a longer stint with full fuel. And now you got Chad Cook. You just pass Peter.
Easy as
Chad's
the
making up
passes.
some good places there. Is now into 7th.
Quite an aggressive Chad Cook here at Brands Hatch. It's fantastic
Yeah.
to see.
It looks like Peter
Ah,
is
that
struggling
was
with the
actually
GTR.
Matthew Boy lapping Peter
No.
Veldnes.
Oh, it was. Sure.
No,
No,
Chad,
but
Chad got
Chad is
past,
in front as well.
Yeah, and
Chad's
then
in front.
and then Matthew came past too.
And
Yeah,
then we just saw Peter Veldnes go do some farming quickly.
doing some harvesting.
Yeah.
Driving some daisies. That was bad.
Yeah, it was.
Sometimes the puns just keep coming. They're not most of the time they hit and miss.
Yeah. It's the battle of the Porsches brewing, yeah.
Boyd saying in chat now that Eugene started with the medium tire.
Oh. Oh, and as I said that,
Sure, gets
goes
it all wrong.
for-
Oh, into the barrier. That's gonna
Oh!
hurt.
Oh,
Oh, just
and-
misses Peter.
Jeez!
That's almost a Porsche Nissan sandwich.
All the dents on that green car, it starts to resemble a turtle. Peter van Vuren has clawed back 4 seconds, it seems, on Matthew Boy.
No, he's still in the 20 plus second range.
Ah, yeah, no, see, my live timing only caught up now. I was looking, he was in the 16th. Now it's back there, and now it's going back up again.
It depends which you look at it at.
Niewert's now enjoying a little bit of clean air after passing Leandre Sparks. But he's gaining on
It's
Peter
not
Krobler now.
not improving his lap time so much, because he's still running 26.7, so it's very high 26s. Well, it could be because it's full of fuel as well.
Very possible. I mean, if he did go out with only 20 laps worth of fuel in the car, he would have had to put in about 37 laps worth of fuel now. Double
Yeah,
the weight
so-
that he started with.
That's why he's not matching his lap times as prior as well.
Now, can you imagine driving around this track with 60 kilos in the car? Because that's just 17 kilos extra weight in the car. And
Well,
he's
Kat, you're
losing
gonna do
half a
more than just
second.
imagine.
Yeah, you actually do.
Jokes on you.
Hence the reason me saying imagine. I want people to actually share my pain.
Well, look, I have a short career here at Sim Race SA, so it's going to be my first race as well with ballast, and I think it's like 15 or 20 kgs, but for me already I can feel it a lot because I'm not used to it.
It just changes the dynamic of the handling ever so slightly. The
Did
more you
Peter-
add to it, the more amplified it becomes.
I'm just looking at the gap between Matthew and Peter. Did he pit or did he have an
It definitely looks as if Peter.
off? I don't
either
think
had
that's
an
a
off-
pit because he lost about 10 seconds or 10 to 15 seconds on Matthew.
Yeah, I think that was an off.
And Peter Gropper is now within 5 seconds of him and actually closing that down a bit. Oh. I must say though, turn 6, Westfield Bend is my least favorite bend on this track. It's just so easy to get that bend wrong and you can scrub so much speed.
must admit, this BMW also sounds epic in a straight line.
Yeah. See, you moving over.
No, I wouldn't say that. I've spent enough time in the Nissan to grow to love the sound that that thing makes.
It is a very different soundtrack, though.
The aria written in Japanese. That's what it is. Using a bit of a curb there to get the nose to turn into that corner. Been even only a second behind him.
So that battle is heating up.
This is where things are going to get very interesting because Eugene Nivert pitted early. He is catching on Peter Grobler, which is basically putting him anywhere between 45 to 50 seconds behind Matthew Boy. Pit entry and exit going to chew up a little bit of time, as well as refueling and putting on new tires. This is going to be very interesting to see where he's going to be once Matthew exits the pits.
Yes, it would. Well, hopefully, Peter van Buren pitted. He's in the pits. He is now already dropped down to 4th place, but Leandre joined him as well. Sorry, also Peter Heldenes.
Gonna have to get a very good drive out of the next corner. If not here, maybe down the straight. That BMW is a bit of a beast down the straight though, so if he's not getting his nose in front here, he's probably not going to catch that BMW.
Yeah, the Z4 is also, it feels pretty light and nimble when you are driving it.
Oh my goodness, he's keeping up.
It come down to Hotowns. Ooh,
Oh,
on the outside.
Around the outside.
And he makes it stick.
That's awesome. He's now through, back into 2nd place, half a lap behind Matthew Boy. The equivalent of about 45 to 50 seconds.
Which is, yeah.
This is going to be interesting. I still don't see the little pit marker next to Matthew Boy's name, and he is on lap 29, lap 30. Should have pitted by now, or maybe he started with a full tank of fuel, who knows?
Yeah, he's still running, he's running 26.2 at the moment. And Eugene's running, his last lap was a 27.4 because he was busy in the battle with Peter. Would be nice to see the lap times now.
DeAndre Sparks has got Peter van Vuren in his sights now. My goodness.
Peter van Vuren's last lap was a 1:31.
Something tells me that Porsche is not that comfortable around this track.
Leandre
Can
just did
be
a
quick.
1:34, so seems to me there must have been some contact or some off.
Considering how his qualification went, I would not be surprised if he put a wheel or two on the curbs. That Porsche is very finicky. That thing just looks at a curb and spits you away. Matthew Boy's in the pits now. Evo's closing on him. Matthew Boy just left the pits. Oh, this is going to be close. 5, 4, 5
Wow.
seconds. Oh, so he maintains it.
That was a good pit stop. Well, at least we could see a good battle towards the end of the race. Or in the next 5 laps or 10 laps. Well, this outlap, if Matthew changed tires, is going to be crucial because he's going to be on cold tires at the moment. I see
Well,
Chad Cook's running softs at the moment.
quite
It'll be
strange.
interesting to see his lap times versus Matthews' lap times. There's Matthews on the medium tire.
Peter Krubble is right there in third position, just 2 seconds behind Eugene. I think Eugene's going to bring Peter along with him towards Matthew. We could have a very good three-way battle towards the end.
Here's the thing.
If you
Eugene
want,
would not have been counting on another car on his tailpipe right now, considering that he was trying to hunt down Matthew Boy. Now he needs to deal with the threat from behind first.
and Peter Krobler was 0.5 of a second faster than Eugene that last lap. Not too sure if Peter Krobler already pitted.
I think he did. Either
Oh,
that,
Werner got disconnected from the server.
Peter Grobler's BMW still looks pretty new.
Yes. See, this is what I said earlier on in qualifying. Start off in the front of the field. Look at Matthew's car. It looks quite new at the moment.
Exactly.
And as I say that, he goes a little bit sideways at the entrance of Clark.
Not very uncommon on cold tires. You're driving with mediums. That was very wide. Missed that apex by a country mile.
I'd say his tires are a bit up to temp because his last lap he was faster than Eugene and Peter as well.
That's a decent exit. There we go. Now you can gun it.
Yeah, great drive up the hill now, down the back straight. Exactly what you need.
You want a late apex to spawn as deep as you possibly can.
Put in ever so slightly, like that, nicely.
Oh, there you go.
Hey.
Here's where you want to chuck the car into the corner and get the wheel straight as quickly as possible. Hard on the brakes, dab, and just throw it in there.
And on the accelerator very early.
Let the centrifugal forces do the work for you. That was a good lap.
It was actually a slow lap, but it was a 27.1.
At least it looked pretty.
Yes.
And driving above the bonnet, you know, it sounded pretty.
Come guys, we need some battles.
Eugene Nieuwert shrugged off Peter Grobler's challenge from the back. Peter van Vieren's gaining on Grobler a little bit.
Van Vieren just ran at 25.6.
That's a very, very good lap time. I must admit, I might be a commentator, but I take serious offense to being at the back of the pack.
I'm commentator too, so that means I'm last, by the way.
Cameraman suspiciously is in 11th.
Yeah.
So when you're in charge, you can do that type of thing.
And the cameraman always holds his camera in front of him, so that's why it's in 10.
You go.
He's got a 30-second lead on, oh sorry, a 30-centimeter lead on the guy behind him because of the camera. Chad Cook, 0.8 laps behind Leandre Sparks. That's a big gap between 5 and 6. Another big gap between Sean Lewis and Shiraz Dada. Everyone's relatively spread out. Closest contenders, it seems, is Peter Grobler to Eugene Nivo to Matthew Boyd.
Peter van Vuren. He's gaining on certain laps, but dropping down in the others. So when do you think they'll be introducing night racing to Assetto Corsa?
I don't think it'll be this Assetto Corsa, the first version of Assetto Corsa, but I think for Assetto Corsa 2, I think we'll keep coming.
So night and weather most likely.
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, I would have preferred if they treated this as Assetto Corsa. Like they're treating R Factor 2 at the moment.
Where they just update it.
Where they just keep on updating the thing. I mean, there's no reason why you can't just, you know, I mean, look at what R Factor 2, what they're busy doing right now. They are introducing DirectX 11. It's basically a complete revamp of the entire sim. But essentially, it's going to be the same sim.
Well,
So,
I guess they
don't
want
like
you
this
to.
whole thing where, you know, you've got a Assetto Corsa 1 and then an Assetto Corsa 2. If you want to be a simulator, be a simulator and just keep on updating yourself.
I guess they.
Bit of rebranding.
Well, they should. That's what they should do. They should just update it, but I guess they would require some money for it.
Yeah,
But then they could just sell it.
with this engine is that there's only, I think, one light source. I think they say that, and that's because they can't introduce another light source, so they can't do the night racing. Okay.
But is there any
this
reason? But is there a reason why you can't just call yourself Assetto Corsa still and update the engine?
Yeah, no, they can do that. I mean, maybe they will too. Who knows how they're going to do it? So I think Kunis has achieved their objectives with Assetto Corsa, and all they can do now is get stronger. So
yeah, look, to me, it just takes away a
budget
little
one.
bit from the shine. You know, it's because at some point, in order to develop a number 2 and put all the features that you've got in 1 into 2, you're going to have to spend an inordinate amount of time in developing it. And once that starts, updates in the base one that we are all currently enjoying is going to start lagging behind. That's essentially what happened with Project Cars. Now Project Cars 2 is coming out. But updates to Project Cars itself almost came to a complete halt. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky situation. I would have just preferred if they just kept it as a Assetto Corsa, and whatever they needed to update engine-wise, physics-wise, light sources, it doesn't matter what it is. Keep on naming it the same thing. You've got a driver base. You can still sell your DLC relatively inexpensively. Which is where essentially you're going to be making your money. Instead of now forcing...
Like Boyd says in the chat now that, you know, when you release Assetto Corsa 2 now, it's going to increase their sales twofold. So
Yeah.
Exactly. But now
Marketing
you're essentially
scheme.
tapping 2 sets of sales out of 1 user. So it makes great business sense for them. It just leaves a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of the user. Because you bought into something that is marketed as a sim. Just look at the splash screen.
Yeah, but
And
it's similar like
now
when
you need to buy something new.
yeah, but
So-
I mean, like I see it, if it's a big enough of a change, then it warrants maybe a second sort of game, as it were. Sorry, simulator. Yeah.
it has to be a bit worlds apart type of thing. Like how R Factor 1 versus R Factor 2. Now there wasn't so much graphic changes, but from a usability and physics point, it was quite different. And we're back with Matthew Boy. He's on a Sunday drive.
Exactly. Eugene never now fell back to
Yes.
8 and 10 seconds behind. Peter van Vieren and Leandre Sparks went past Peter Grobler now in the pits.
Yes.
This is the tricky part of the race now for Matthew, is that he's at the front, yes, but it's kind of battle to keep his concentration, not slack off too much. Good to see now. 18 laps to go.
It's a very difficult mindset to get in as well. It's you want to let yourself go for muscle memory to kick in, to basically use the rhythm you've been building towards for about 30 laps just to get yourself home for the last 16. But you don't want to let yourself go too far so that you don't start noticing things happening in your mirror and, you know, things happening in the leaderboard. Before you know it, the guy behind you has crept up on you, and then you need to kick into a different gear and you don't know where to go from there because your mind is not there. The only thing that saved me, for instance, at Bathurst from putting the car in the wall was the fact that I had to concentrate on not hitting the walls. If it wasn't for, you know, the mountain section of Bathurst, I could very well have, you know, lost concentration having an initial lead on Boyd before he picked up a little bit of damage, and then have put my car in a barrier of some sorts, or let someone else get very close. So the one thing that kept me from, you know, dozing off completely was the mountain. Over here, it's a relatively technical track, and if you let yourself go too far, you might find yourself completely off track, and that 10-second lead can be eradicated in the blink of an eye.
Well, also the noise that you had on the back straight at Mount Panorama with the GTR is quite nice. That keeps you awake.
Yeah.
Especially when you're hitting the limiter in 6th gear.
Look, you can always set it up not to hit the limiter, but
but it's fun.
But if you set it up in such a way that it like maxes out right before you need to get on the brakes, the only way you know that you got a good exit on the corner at the back
is when you
coming down Conrad is when you hit that limiter with seconds to spare. That's when you know you got a good exit. Puts a smile on your face every single time.
It would be nice to see if Eugene can pull some rabbits out of his hat there and close that down to Matthew for a good shootout towards the end. I'm sure Matthew would enjoy that. Oh, but we have Eugene back in the pits.
Oh dear, two-stop strategy.
I don't think he calculated his pit stops properly, because you got Peter van Vuren who is closing quickly. And how long is the stop gonna be? He's got
He's
10
definitely
seconds.
going to lose that spot. He's definitely going to lose second.
Yes, and Peter van Vuren's now gone through. And Eugene is still in the pits, and now he's gonna be under attack by Leandre. Okay, he's exiting the pits. And
right
Leandre
now,
is right on his tail. He's 4 seconds behind him.
I think considering his pace up until this point, he shouldn't have too much to worry about Leandre Sparks at the back.
But he could be
Keeps
on
it nice
cold
and clean.
tires now, because that was a long pit stop with just fuel. So I'm sure his car is eating up his tires. his setup is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
And there's a
Werner.
spin.
I will be back right now. I will leave you to sing for everyone who's watching on YouTube.
Sing. I don't sing. People don't pay me enough to sing. In actual fact, I wouldn't want to accept people's money to sing. It would feel like stealing. Some people that sing, they sound like angels. When I sing, I make angels weep. Dean definitely has enough time left to maybe close the gap down to Peter van Veeren, so we could, with about 3 or 4 laps to go in this race, be a nice battle for second though, even after his 2-stop strategy.
We have Leandro catching up to Eugene, just 4 seconds behind him.
Just navigated past, I think, a back marker. Put the back marker smack dab in between himself and Leandre's box. What are we currently driving with? Leandre's box?
Yes. Sorry, I'm back.
So Gert, you've been in the position that Batty Boy currently is now. Just sort of tell us what you think when you're out in the front like that, and sort of start slowing down and looking after your tires. And
No.
what do you say to yourself? Do you?
What I did at Bathurst was I started hot lapping essentially, because if you allow yourself to doze off, you run the risk of putting yourself in a barrier, bending a control arm or something, and your race is effectively done. So the best thing you can do right now is to find little challenges for yourself. Start looking at the delta sort of thing, do a few hot laps, but do it within limits. You know, try and hit your brake markers, make a little game out of it, you know, try and hit your brake markers, your turning markers. See whether or not you can actually get those really good lap times, you know, on old tires, which is still very much possible if you concentrate on being smooth. But you have to find little things that can motivate you. You can't just go through the motions at this point.
But wouldn't that put you at a higher risk of damaging your vehicle?
Not necessarily, no. The moment you forget about the car behind you, and you've been driving on tires that is now essentially, let's say 15, 16, 17 laps old, you know what the car feels like underneath you. You can still hit your brake markers. You can forget about the traffic behind and in front of you and just turn it into a game. That's all you can do. There's not much else that's going to occupy your mind. You can't start celebrating yet because the race is not done. And it's wise to remember that. But it's easy to lose focus once you are that far ahead. I mean, I remember an instance, for instance, when we were running that special event last year at Nordschleife. And myself
hell.
and Boyd, was placed in first and second. Boyd was so far ahead. Oh, Eugene. Oh,
No, stay off the
Eugene,
wall.
no.
Oh.
Well, that put to rest his challenge for second position right now, I think. And DeAndre
Yep.
Sparks just went past.
DeAndre is moved to third.
And Peter is now in second. Peter
I
from
remember that, the top three getting invites to the pro split at Road America round 3.
And that is exactly what I was talking about. If you start losing focus and you just look at that top 3 position, you think to yourself, right, probably not going to catch someone. I'm just going to go into autopilot here. That's the kind of thing that can happen. You need to keep your mind fresh by giving yourself little challenges to complete. I mean, like I said, at Green Hell, Boyd was leading by a huge margin after like 4 or 5 laps. And then going into the pits, I don't know what he did, but he actually ended up driving into the pit wall. It's not something that you would associate with someone like Boyd, but it's something that can very easily happen when you start switching yourself off. It is a very, very tricky thing to maintain focus, not overdrive the car, but to do something that keeps you banging out the lap times you need to maintain the gap to the guy behind you.
Yeah, Eugene will be kicking himself now, but he's just got to sort of refocus himself, sort of have that short memory and keep plugging away. You never know what might happen. Still 10 laps remaining.
Absolutely. There's no reason why he can't catch Peter Grobler at least.
There could be 2 other guys that also do the same thing and could be back in it. So, still to play for, with 10 laps remaining.
Couple of laps back, Peter van Vieren looked dead and buried in 4th. Now he finds himself in 2nd. That's how quickly things can change. This takes one unscheduled pit stop, one off, and you're back in the mix.
Matthew Boyd's lap times have dropped, so he's constantly around the 127 1 to 127.5 mark now. So seems that he feels the lead is big enough, and I think he's taking it easy to preserve his tires and fuel till the end.
What he feels comfortable with, can't really fault him.
The main thing is you finish.
Can't take the win if you don't finish.
True.
That's probably the most self-evident statement I've had the whole evening. Feels almost wrong saying it outright.
It was the same with me at Bottas because I think after all the dust had settled, I was in seventh position, and I just said, okay, I'll drive it as the best I can, and just get seventh because seventh was a win in itself for me, and lucky for me and unlucky for Boyd and Jason Adesmeyer, they had some issues, and I managed to get those spaces from them, and I finished in fourth, which was for me that was a podium. That was first place.
It's a fantastic result. At a
Yeah.
place like Bathurst, being able to keep your nose clean the majority of time so that you can get that fourth position, it's a win in and of itself.
Yeah, considering I did hit the wall once, when Mark came up into the rear of me.
Yeah, I still look at that race and think to myself that it's a miracle that I didn't hit the wall once, or any other car for that matter. Passing cars turned the wrong way in the mountain section, missing them by a hair's breadth basically. Scraping past walls in certain corners, putting two wheels on curbs, but not once did I touch a wall. And considering how many times I did that in practice and basically wrote the car off, to then go into race mode and not do that once was a miracle by itself. That said, Matthew Boy essentially ran very much an incident-free race here. And if you look at his lap times right now, he doesn't have to be the fastest guy on track simply because he didn't have any incidents. And he's got that 20-30 second lead on the guy behind him, which means it allows him to drive within himself for the next 7 laps just to get it to the end of the race. I don't think he cares right now whether or not he wins by 20 or 40 seconds, which he could probably have done if he drove it flat out for the next 7 laps. But I don't think that's his mindset right now. Right now his mindset is take the win, take the qualification spot and move on.
He's riding on board now with Leandro Sparks looking back at Peter Krobler. It's a huge fight there. It's 0.3 of a second between them. Those two fighting over that last pro split rotation result. So great to watch here.
Peter Krobler is basically on the tail of the car that we've got on screen now. And it's 2 BMWs. The second-hand one is busy hauling in the one that looks a little bit newer. Wonder what he's got under the hood.
Peter Krobler is running nitrous because if you look at his exhaust, it's just flaming all the time. He's there, 0.3 of a second.
Oh, there goes
Leandro.
Andre.
No.
Peter Krobler does it. I bet you down the straight, Peter Krobler's going to look up. He's going to see 6 laps remaining in this race, and he's going to say thank you. But it's not done yet.
Leandro is putting on a charge. Can Leandro get close enough so for Pilgrim's drop for the back straight?
That's a good drive out of that corner. Rosdara stays out of the way. Get in here. Nice late apex. Get that good drive. Now you need to stay deep. Get off the gas. Be patient. Be patient. No,
No.
that's overdriving it. You lose all that time, and the guy's is going to pull away from you.
And yep, we lost just over half a second. Peter van Vuren just put in a 26.7. Ooh, and Leandre ran wide.
Flirting with another spin there. Have to be patient. Have to be patient. Come on.
Missed the apex.
Be patient here. Be patient. Wait, wait, wait. Then get on the gas.
Ooh, too much curb. Turn 1.
He's definitely pushing a little bit too hard there. The temptation from someone new to sim racing is always to try and get that early turn in so that you can get on the gas very early. Doesn't work like that normally. All basics to adhere to. Keep it deep, wait for it, and then get on the gas. Get that drive. There we go. Again, another one of those corners where you just need to be patient.
And he's taking out some time from the gap between him and Peter. Ooh, and then he
Pushing
runs
way
wide.
too hard, way too hard, way too hard. Patience can be a virtue in these corners.
Oh, a classic example, because he dropped the gap by about 0.4 of a second over 3 corners, but lost it in just 1 corner.
Exactly.
And Leandre needs to push because he's got Eugene coming up behind him. It's just say 6 seconds back.
Four laps to go. This can be very, very interesting for that last podium. No, not so much for the last podium spot. Yes, it is. It is for the last podium spot with Leandre 1.5 behind Peter, Eugene 5-6 seconds behind Leandre.
And good showing by Chad. He's currently in 6th place. We've got Peter Heldenay behind him, Sean Lewis, Shiraz Dada, and Werner, who had a disconnect, so he's 11 laps back.
Special mention again to cameraman in 11th position without doing a lap.
Yep. Actually, sorry, cameraman's 12th. Correction.
Okay, there's a camera then. Matthew Boy out in front, just cruising right now.
Peter Krobler just pulling out a 10th or so per lap, but just enough to extend that gap to Leandre.
Back marker lets him go. Unforced errors. There's tiny little unforced errors that's basically costing you a 10th here, a 10th there. It all adds up over the lap. This is not the kind of track where you can make up all that time by putting 2 wheels on the grass.
Leandre, he makes up a lot of time at turn 5. So he dropped that gap down to 0.6, 0.5. He basically took a second off just in turn 5 alone. And now he's on the tail of Peter.
See what he can do, because can he maybe take him under braking into Druids? Be patient, guy. No.
And he puts that time back.
Unfortunate.
Well, he must be looking at it as well. There's 2 laps to go, so... Oh, Mr. Apex. That grass slows you down. Our cameraman doing some good work with the different views there.
Now you can see that there's a very early initial input going into the corner. From the steering wheel you can see it. There's a very early initial input going into the corners. He then either pulls back or he just goes through with it, putting 2 wheels on the grass.
Yeah.
You look at that, there was an initial movement to the right and then a second movement to the right. What you ideally want is one movement, smooth movement. He's smooth enough everywhere else. Just he needs to just bide his time.
No!
Oh.
And that's the end of that fight.
Look, I'm pretty sure, you know, with a little bit more
He's
exposure,
got
you know, Leandre
Eugene.
Sparks.
He's got Eugene right on him.
I'm pretty sure that with a little bit more practice and a little bit more participation, Leandre Sparks can be a fantastic competitor in any given race.
Yes.
He's almost there. He's on the cusp. It is just refining those little things that we've just seen.
And he's got Eugene, who is the BMW just has the legs on the straight.
BMW is quite quick. I remember 2 seasons back, there was like this running thing, or this running commentary about, you know, the BMW versus the Nissan. How the Nissan was just pulling away from the BMW in a straight line. Somewhere along the line, the BMW got some legs.
I think it came
The
in.
leaders on the last lap.
Oh,
and he's
Oh! And
Why?
that's a spin for Matthew. Can he get it going? Yes, he can, but Peter. Oh no, not again. Peter is now 16 seconds
Get it
behind.
on track. Get it on track.
Matthew has some bad damage. You can see by his rear wing.
Yeah, that wing's gonna make him turn right.
And we have Peter who's 5 seconds behind.
Bring it home.
That's a worrying. That was a worrying moment for Matthew, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, let's just put it to you this way. It's not what I would have expected from someone rejoining a track, though.
And that's a wrap. Matthew Boy first, Peter van Vuren, followed by Peter Krobler.
A great performance by Peter Krobler.
Beg your pardon?
Great performance by Peter Krobler to take third.
Absolutely.
Very
Leandre Sparks
consistent
was a
throughout the
well-deserved
race.
4th.
Not
Quite
bad for
surprising
Leandre.
5th place finish there for Eugene. But then again, 2 pit stops.
Dean will get 4th position. The move on Leandre.
Oh, fantastic. He took him.
Yeah.
I'm sure Matthew Boy's heart was in his mouth there.
I can imagine.
Just look at that battered and bruised. It was it was the cleanest car for most of the race.
And we had a floater. There we go.
Yeah. Awesome one.
Awesome, guys. And on that
Yeah.
bombshell,
It's time to head back to the studio.
that concludes the the AM split of the South African simGT series at Brands Hatch. I thought it was quite an exciting race. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah, it was, especially towards the end, the beginning and end. I guess the middle parts of all the races is where nothing happens.
Yeah, the middle parts is usually what interests me the most, you know, because of strategies. It was quite surprising to see someone twice. I mean, I can understand that the track, you know, can be quite demanding on certain tires. But, you know, to willingly throw away almost a minute additional pit stop, it's a tricky thing. I would not necessarily have expected that from any driver. Go for 2 pit stops here. But if you count back that minute, you know, he could have found himself in second place quite easily, even challenged maybe for the win. It wasn't for that minute. Tough one.
As I see, Leandre reports that his tires were worn and hot.
Matthew tried very, very hard to miss Sean there, but unfortunately, it actually could have been a lot worse if Matthew didn't slow down like he did, because Sean was stopped on the racing line. Fortunately, he just tagged him and passed him.
But that was a good end to a good race, and congrats to all the podium guys.
Yeah, hopefully we can have a reasonably full field next time.
Yes, we will. And don't miss out on the Pro Split race next week, Monday, same time, same place on the channel. Look forward to that race. The 20 competitors have earned their grid slot on that for that race. Look forward to slightly more competitive race, I think.
There's one guy sitting up here in the commentary booth. There's one guy sitting up in the commentary booth just hoping for a top 10. Seriously. Godzilla doesn't like track that much.
I think you should hope for a top 9 so I can hope for top 10.
Then why don't you just get that extra spot in front of me?
No, that Godzilla on this track, it's not the best.
Well, look, got some time before next week, Monday. If it's anything like tonight's race between the 10 or 11 competitors that ended up finishing this specific race, it's going to be a cracker.
No, guaranteed it will. And look forward to the next one.
Yeah, and I think that's a wrap on this great race. Thank you very much, guys. Cool. It was a fantastic presentation, I thought. Look forward to improving it as we go.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Get there. Just hope next time the cameraman doesn't beat us to the end.
Yeah, put the cameraman behind us, please. It's just wrong.
No, we'll get there.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.